Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I am so excited for today's video because I am reviewing two new eyeshadow palettes to me. They're not new, but I feel like this would be a really helpful breakdown if you were trying to decide which one to go with. They are both more neutral eye colors. So no purples, no greens, no blues. They are very natural tones. So like, for example, no crazy colors, just colors that you can really create so many beautiful natural eye looks. So you could do smoky, you could do light and glittery, you could really do a lot with them, but they don't have any crazy colors. So like my all-time favorite palette is the Too Faced Chocolate Bar one, but it has purples and pinks and some colors that I don't really use. And it's a pretty big palette. I mean, it's like this big. So I'm excited because these are perfect for traveling. They really do contain every color you could probably ever really need for an eyeshadow palette. If you're a beginner and you're new to makeup, these would be perfect for you. If you would like to experiment a little bit more with looks but don't want to spend a ton of money on a bunch of different palettes, I think these would be great starter palettes. And I've been doing makeup for years and these are the colors that I continuously reach for. I don't do crazy eye looks on myself. I don't like how they look on me. So I don't feel like I should be buying palettes that have a bunch of crazy colors. And I think most people can relate. So in today's video, I'm gonna compare these two palettes. I'm gonna show you color swatches. I'm gonna show you one on each eye and kind of just walk you through how I do just a standard everyday eye makeup look. So this is kind of a tutorial. If you wanna grab your brushes, feel free. If you just wanna know my review, I will also be doing that in this video. Before I start on my review, if you could please like this video, it means so much to me. Also, if you like videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications so you will be informed every time I post a new video. All right, let's get into this. So before I do any eye makeup look, I always go in with an eyelid primer. One of my all-time favorites is from Laura Mercier, and the color is Flax. I like this one because I have darker eyelids, as you might be able to tell on camera. It's kind of hard to show people. When I try to do eye makeup looks on top of my darker eyelids, I find that the colors don't really show up. This also prevents makeup creasing. So I have oily eyelids and I get that crazy crease right in here. This will help prevent that. So what I do is I apply it on both lids and then I just take one brush. I use the same brush for this every single time, because it's a nice dense brush and it really disperses the color really well. And you just brush it all over your lid. And then you can kind of take your fingers and dab them in. All right, so see the difference? It just gives you a little bit of color. I mean, honestly, some days I just wear this because it really brightens my eyes. And then I go back over. So things to want for this video is like a fluffy eyeshadow brush, a couple more denser ones, an eyeliner brush, and I just have different options because I find that depending on the color, some brushes work better than others. So I always start with a fluffy brush, and I also use this color cleaner. So in between colors, you can wipe off your brush and it just kind of gets any of that excess last color off. For the Tartelette, first I'm going to start just with Charmer. And what this does basically is it's going to be kind of like a setting powder, but for your eyelid. So just pat it all over. And then I'm also going to set this one just so it doesn't crease, but then I'm going to do one eye at a time. Okay, so then on the Too Faced palette, I'm going to go in with Heaven and brush that one all over. So already, I don't know if you can see from that far away, but Heaven is a little bit lighter. So that is gonna be your base color and then you go from there. A couple things I will say about the Too Faced palette is I love how the colors I would probably use most are a big shimmer and then a little bit of a darker pigment to use in my crease. And you can see they have more shimmer options. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 out of the 9 colors are shimmery, and I actually prefer shimmer eyeshadow. I just think it makes my eyes really pop. Whereas the Tartelette and Bloom palette only has 3 shimmer options. So it has this one down here, and then Rocker and Firecracker. And the differences in these two palettes also, I prefer cooler toned eyeshadows, and I think that the Too Faced is more of a cool toned palette in general. The Tarte gets a little bit warm on the bottom, and they do have more of like a mauve type color that's gonna give you a warmer eye look, but they also do have cool tones. And I love how this has two darker options. So I could travel with this and be completely content, because generally I use a dark, almost black or a black eyeshadow color as my eyeliner. And I just use a little thin eyeliner brush. This one's from MAC. It's the 266. I think they discontinued this though. This one's like 12 years old. But I will link everything I use below. So if you want to refer back or purchase anything, it's all linked below. So another difference between these two is Tartelette is $39 and it comes with 12 colors, whereas the Too Faced is $38 and it comes with 9 colors. But I would say you probably get the same amount of eyeshadow because it has these 3 big ones on the side. And I mean, it really just depends what colors you use more. I personally don't use that many dark colors, so I feel like this one I will get more use out of. So I feel like the Too Faced, this is much more realistic for colors that I would use every single day. So the Tarte has more matte shades, but it does have a few shimmers, whereas the Too Faced is more shimmers and it has a few mattes. So I prefer a matte to do a crease, but then I always usually end up using a shimmer just to add that pop. So just right off the bat, I do think that I like the colors on the Too Faced palette more. What's interesting is they both smell sweet. So if you've ever smelled any of the Too Faced, I think their bronzers are sweet. The chocolate bar palette smells like chocolate. They kind of just add a scent to it, which is interesting, but the Tarte did that too. So another thing that the Tarte palette has is more base shades. So like, if you use this on your whole lid as your setting color, you totally could do that. Even like these, just depending on what you like. But I think that they're a little bit more forgiving, whereas Too Faced, it has one darker shade that you could use as a very light crease shade, but then it jumps to a pretty dark tone. So like this is not something that you would build out your lids with as easily if you prefer to blend that way. I'm gonna start with Tarte and then I'll finish with the Too Faced one. So I'm gonna do this eye with Tarte and this eye with Too Faced. So when I do my eyes, I do like to build them because it just makes blending so much easier. So I'm gonna go in with Flower Child and kind of just start going right here in the corner. And I love this brush. This is the easiest blending brush I've ever used. It's very forgiving. So you can start building up a crease with that. And then I'm gonna go in with Jet Setter and do the same thing. Just start focusing on the crease. And when I do my crease, I go up, but I stay right here. So I'm pushing pretty hard on my eye just so you guys can see. And then I go like right along my lash line. And so it's kind of creating like a sideways V where it's like this, but then the color should just kind of fall naturally onto the outer edge of this whole thing. So it kind of just fills in that V right here. And even then you can see it's still a very light building block to a natural eye look, but it's better to start small and build instead of doing too much and then trying to blend it out. All right, so normally when I do my eyes, I like to do a really pretty shimmer, and Funny Girl seems like it would be the best shimmer shade, right? It's just like the perfect champagne-y, almost a little bit warm glitter color. But when you apply it, it applies very much like a glitter. It's not really a pigmented sheen. It really does look more like little tiny glitter particles, which isn't my first choice. And what's interesting is the other two shades in this, so the Rocker and Firecracker, those are a lot more of a sheen type shimmer, not a glitter shimmer. So I don't love that right off the bat, but again, that's your preference. And it does, I mean, you see it can really make a pretty look. It's just not like that sheen. Now I'm gonna go in with a little bit darker color, but I'm gonna do it really light. I personally do not like when I wear warm eyeshadows on my eyes. I feel like it pulls redness out of my eyes, and I have green eyes. I like to keep it cool. So I'm gonna go in very lightly with Activist and just focus on the crease and building that out again. I mean, you can see, look at how pigmented that is. It really does apply color very easily. So you want to use it sparingly, but that's a good thing. You want something that you can use a little bit of color and it goes a long way, instead of having to really get in there and like dig it out. So I do really like this palette. I find it to be really easy to work with. So that's kind of where I'm going to start with this one. And then I'm going to add a few more of the shimmer shades out towards the crease. So I'm going to start with Rocker. And I switched brushes. I'm going for a little bit more of a dense brush now. So Rocker is a really nice, cool, toned shimmer, but it still isn't super dark. So these aren't as shimmery as I really prefer, but they do have a little bit of sheen to it. So it's pretty. It's just a more natural look. And I'm kind of a wimp when it comes to eyeshadow. I just think because my eyebrows are so bold, that it can be a bit much if I'm wearing a lot, like a big smoky eye. So that's why I like natural colors like this, because I just think they're easier to work with, and if I mess up, I can just blend it away. All right, so I'm gonna switch over to this eye now. So you just take your little color swatch and wipe it off. And then I'm gonna go in with Strip Poker. So that's that bottom big one down here, and start building out my crease on this side. So Strip Poker is a very light color, but it does give you a little bit of a build. If you want to go up, I actually love Cashmere Bunny, so that's this one right here. That's like my go-to crease shade. Even if I'm going out for like a fancy event or a dinner, I will always do kind of a more light color crease shade, and I feel like this palette is exactly what I would reach for. All right, so now I'm gonna add a little bit of shimmer and go right here on the inner corner. So I always do a light shimmer right in here. And this is one thing I don't love about this palette, is the shimmers do not grab on my fluffy brush, and other palettes do. Like even the other Too Faced palette that I have, it grabs more with this brush. Whereas this one, I'm pushing in here pretty far, and there's a lot of fallout. I don't know if you can see that on the palette, but fallout's not good for me because I do my eyes last. So my face makeup's already done. So if I'm using a color that has a lot of fallout, it makes a huge mess and it's annoying to clean. So this one is literally giving me no pigment. So I'm gonna go back in with the denser brush, clean it off, and go back in with that shimmer. I feel like the shimmers are so disappointing in both of these. Like the light shimmer that I would reach for, that's the main color I wear. So normally I just use that one fluffy brush when I do my eye looks, and with these I feel like I have to, look, now you can see the shimmer. So it definitely needs a little bit more of a denser brush to get shimmer, which is fine. I just need to use two brushes, like I can get over it. But the color is beautiful, and this is exactly what I would reach for if I was doing an eye makeup look. Okay, so now I'm gonna do a little bit of a darker shade in the crease. So just like in the Tarte palette where I used Activist, I'm gonna use Espresso. So this is the darkest color on the Too Faced palette. And again, you go in that little V, so up in the crease and then along your lash line, and you build it up and out. I don't like to go out this way. If I am gonna build it out of my crease, I go kind of up towards my brow. I find when it pulls down, it really brings my eyes down and makes them look kind of droopy. I think that this color is so much more pigmented and creamy, and just, I think it works really, really well, and it works with this brush. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back in with Push Up and kind of blend the shimmer and the crease together. And the Push Up is interesting because it does work with this fluffy brush. You see? So now this eye is way more shimmery than this eye. And I think that's because there just aren't as many shimmer options on the Tartelette one. So now I'm gonna go back over to the Tartelette eye, and I'm gonna add a little bit more of the Funny Girl, but do it on the middle of my eye where I added the Push Up on this eye. Obviously now they're not the same color, and that's okay. I mean, they don't have to make the same exact eyeshadow palette, right? I just think that the Tarte one is a little bit more of a warm, and this one's a little bit cooler, but they do look pretty close in terms of color. So now I'm gonna go back into this crease shade because this one's darker. So I'm gonna use Activist on the Tarte again. So now this is my favorite crease brush, and I just really like to blend it out as much as I can. So I'm not using any color to blend. I'm just going in. I cleaned in the middle so that I'm not mixing the two together. Interesting is this eye has a lot more fallout, and it's Funny Girl that's all over my cheek. But I thought that the Too Faced would make more fallout because if you look at the actual palette, it has powder all over it, whereas the Too Faced one really only has powder right around Funny Girl. So Funny Girl just makes a mess. I feel like the other ones aren't as powdery, but I feel like in terms of how blendable they are, they're really very close. And I think you would be happy with either one. If you like the option of doing warmer and cooler tones, you will love the Tartelette. If you like cooler tones and more shimmery tones, you will love the Too Faced. Now I'm gonna take my little eyeliner brush, and on this eye, I'm gonna go in with, I'm gonna do Smoke Show. So that is their darkest shade, which they don't really have that on the Too Faced. So like I said, these aren't gonna be the exact same eye look. So when I do my eyeliner, I go inside along my waterline. I find when I go out like under my lash line, it actually makes, again, it pulls my eye down. And you don't need much. It's just such a light little layer. And then for the Too Faced under eye, I am going to do Espresso. All right, so those are the looks. I'm gonna blend these out a little bit more. So if you find that you don't really like how much pigment got up here, you can take the light color on the palette and just kind of blend all of the colors together. That's a really easy way to fix your really intense eye look. And then I'm gonna do the Tartelette eye with the Tartelette palette. I do feel like this is pulling more pigment. That's better. This one is really staying on. I'm having a hard time blending it out. So I'm gonna go back in with Funny Girl and just try to add some shimmer to that whole eye to lighten that dark crease shade. And then I'm gonna go in with the denser brush and try to add a little bit more shimmer right up here. Okay, so there you have it. This is Tarte, this is Too Faced. You can really create a really beautiful, very similar look. If you like more shimmer shades and cooler tones, the Too Faced palette will be right up your alley. If you like warmer tones, the option for more matte and then just a few shimmer shades, you will like the Tartelette one. Price-wise, they're so close, you can't really compare. Tartelette has more colors to choose from, but I mean, really, they're beautiful. Tartelette does have a lot of fallout on this cheek. I don't know if you can see that. Oh yeah, it just looks like highlighter though, so hey, it's not so bad. Okay, so I put on mascara and a little bit of liquid eyeliner so you guys could see the final look with each eye. But I mean, really, they're so close, right? So I think it really just depends on what your preference is. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found this video informative, and I will see you next time.